you so much. Thank all of you for being here. Today, your presence here helps us all. It certainly warms my heart to see this many people wanting to come out and help support this issue in Vancouver. And Art, thank you for your words, and Nathan for being here and supporting this issue. Now, the reason that I'm here is because a few years ago, we began to notice oil tankers actually coming through the port of Vancouver, Burrard Inlet. Friends of mine and I began to notice that tankers were coming right through Burrard Inlet to Westridge Terminal, and these were larger tankers than we had ever seen in the Vancouver Harbor. We were aware of the proposed Enbridge pipeline. We were also aware that there is a Trans Mountain pipeline that does come over to Vancouver from Alberta. This was part of the BC Gas pipeline network. It used to deliver petroleum to the refineries in British Columbia, where we would refine products, and then we would sometimes ship, and we still do ship refined oil products north and south along the coast to communities along the coast. There's a big difference between shipping refined oil products and crude oil tankers. And the main difference is any oil spill in the water is not good. Even if you have a small boat and you spill oil in the water, this is not good for the marine environment. But our group that's working now today is working to stop the shipment of tar sands crude oil in major tankers anywhere in British Columbia, and that includes Burrard Inlet, where we are here. Now let me give you a little history of what happened. In 2005, our BC Gas Corporation was sold to a couple of Texas oil billionaires, ex-Enron billionaires, Kinder and Morgan. Now, Richard Kinder is the former lead lawyer, lead counsel, chief counsel for the Enron Corporation. Some of you may know about the Enron Corporation. They ripped off their own shareholders. They set up these phony little front companies, and they would dump toxic assets into these companies and sell shares to shareholders, and then the companies would go bankrupt. This was just a giant rip-off scam. And when Richard Kinder left this company, Enron, he received a $31 million bonus when he left the company. He's worth about $3 billion today. And he and his partner, Bill Morgan, bought BC Gas. That was formerly your public asset, sold to these two Texas billionaires.
Criminals!
By your government, who we used to presume was elected for our benefit to look after our interests, and we find our own governments, federal and provincial, now looking after the interests of the oil companies and the billionaires. Now, when they bought BC Gas, they flipped the company, and they kept the pipelines. That's what they wanted. They wanted the pipelines. And then in 2007, Kinder Morgan and China began to, as they said, this was announced in Stats Canada. It was not announced publicly. Our own public officials in British Columbia appear to not have known about it. The public certainly didn't know about it. There was no public consultation. There was no consultation with the First Nations here, with the Tsleil-Waututh, the Squamish, and the Musqueam in British Columbia. And Kinder Morgan and China entered into an agreement to start shipping tar sands crude oil through Vancouver to Westridge Terminal in Burnaby. So these giant tankers come under the First Narrows, through the Vancouver Harbor, under Second Narrows Bridge to Westridge Terminal. They sit off Cates Park, and we have Ben West at the Wilderness Committee now has a program. You can check it out on the Wilderness Committee. You can actually sign up and get a notice each time one of these tankers comes into Vancouver. And it's about 1 or 2 a week. Now, there are 3 major pipeline routes out of the tar sands. The Keystone Pipeline in the United States, which you now know about because our friends in the United States have rallied to stop that pipeline, and they've been partially successful. That fight is, of course, not over yet. There's the Enbridge pipeline that we're addressing today to northern British Columbia, to Kitimat, the proposal. And there's the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain Pipeline, currently in operation as we speak, shipping tar sands crude oil to Vancouver and loading it on tankers. Now each of these pipelines is expected, the intention is to increase the shipments through these pipelines up to 500,000 to 700,000 barrels a day. That would be one tanker per day. If Kinder Morgan gets their wish to expand their pipeline to 500,000 to 700,000 barrels per day, you are talking about one major oil tanker in and out of the harbor of Vancouver every day carrying tar sands crude oil. They're trying to turn Vancouver into the tar sands shipping port. And that's why we've stepped up and said, no, it's not going to happen. There is a misconception that this is a done deal, that the shipments of oil into Vancouver is a done deal. And the reason there's that misconception is the company has set out to make sure there is that misconception, because they have said over and over again in the media, whenever they're confronted on this issue, they say, oh, we've been shipping oil through that pipeline for a long time, and we've been shipping oil on the coast of BC for a long time. This is nothing new. This is a lie. This is new. This is tar sands crude oil from the tar sands in Alberta. This is not refined oil products that we used to ship to Squamish or Bella Bella or all the communities along the coast. This is an entirely new industry, which is an industry to ship Canada's tar sands crude oil to China and elsewhere around the world. They have done this without consulting the people of British Columbia. They've done this without consulting the First Nations of this region. And in many cases, in most cases, they did this without even consulting our elected officials. So this is cultural decision-making by foreign corporations. A couple of rich billionaire oil men in Houston, Texas are deciding how and when and where we ship crude oil along our coast. And I know with the support of the Coastal First Nations and ART and Nathan Cully and the Wilderness Committee and West Coast Environmental Law and Forest Ethics and Tanker Free BC and all the groups that are rising up to battle this will not happen. We will not let it happen. I can assure you we have a fight on our hands. These companies never give up. They never give up power without a fight. And it's going to require the people of British Columbia, the people of Vancouver, the First Nations, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Squamish, the Musqueam, all of us coming together as one and saying, no, we want to control the destiny of our inlet and our harbor, not a couple of Texas oil men. Now, I don't believe I have to tell you, but I want to remind you what would happen if there were an oil spill in Burrard Inlet. Our culture would be destroyed. Not just the marine environment, it would destroy the marine ecology. You know how the tides work around here. In one day, in a few days, we'd have oil all the way up Indian Arm. We'd have oil all the way across Georgia Strait into Nanaimo, across the Gulf Islands, up and down all of our communities. It would destroy Stanley Park. It would destroy Cates Park. It would destroy Lighthouse Park. It would devastate our local coastal economy. One oil spill in this region would destroy us. And I've talked to people in the Gulf of Mexico who've suffered through this. There is no cleanup technology, there is no cleanup infrastructure that can clean up more than 5 or 10% of these major oil spills. When they spill oil in your environment, that oil will be there 100 years later. When you are long gone and your great-grandchildren are trying to make a living here, it will destroy our fisheries, not just our salmon fisheries, our herring fisheries and so forth. And you can imagine what an oil spill would be like in Burrard Inlet and out in the Georgia Strait. And if it happens here, you know who's going to be cleaning it up? You and me. Not Richard Kinder from Texas, you and me. There are many groups here, and I want to ask you to please go to every table, talk to every group, find out what they're doing, find out how they're working to protect our environment here. I want to call particular attention to the Wilderness Committee back there and to Tanker Free BC in the back. These two organizations, the Tanker Free BC, which we started a couple of years ago, is here for one purpose and one purpose only. We exist to stop oil tanker shipments through Burrard Inlet. We will not let it happen. So I want to ask for support. I'm asking you for your support. Go back there to the Tanker Free BC booth, sign the petitions, give us your support, but support all the groups here. I see Forest Ethics here. I see West Coast Environmental Law. All of the groups that are here are working for our collective future. Thank you so much for coming.